Welcome, brave souls, to the cursed abyss, where every shadow holds a secret and every story leaves a chill down your spine. Tonight, we journey deep into the unsettling corners of Reddit, where whispers of terror and unspeakable dread take form. 3 tales await, each more haunting than the last. So dim the lights, lock the doors, and steel your nerves. The darkness is calling. Let's begin. So I was at home alone, and my mum was out shopping. She sent me a text and asked if we wanted to watch Supernatural when she got home. I said yes and continued doing whatever I was doing. About 10 minutes later, I heard the front door unlock and footsteps. Then, right outside my door, at the end of the hall, my mum's voice said, "I'm home, I'm going to lie down," which is not unusual since she gets tired easily. I thought nothing of it, but after another 15 or so minutes, I sent her a text asking if she still wanted to watch with me, and she sent me a selfie at the store. Doors and everything were opened, unlocked when she got home. I never left my bedroom. Growing up, I had a pet dog named Monty. He was my mum's dog from a previous marriage, and we shared custody of him with my mum's ex, alternating who had him every week or so. I cannot remember the timing well as I was a child when this happened. Monty died when I was 6. I was in the room when he died and witnessed the whole thing, from his last breath to him lying on the floor motionless with his eyes open, staring at me. It is a sight I do not think I will ever forget. I am not sure how long after his death this happened, but I know it was at least a few weeks, possibly even a few months later. However, it is a night I will never forget. The night started as normal. I had tea, went up to bed, and fell asleep. I woke up sometime past midnight. This I knew as both my parents were asleep, and my dad came to bed much later than my mum and I. As I lay there awake in my bed, I realized I needed the toilet, but something was bothering me, a feeling that I had to stay in my bed and hide. After a few minutes of staring through the crack of my slightly open door, with the feeling of dread only worsening, I got desperate and eventually decided to risk it and go to the bathroom. I grabbed my headlight, turned on the torch, and placed the band around my head. Taking a final look before pulling back my duvet and jumping off my bed onto the cold wooden floor, I headed to the bathroom. Once I had finished, I washed my hands and dried them off. On my way out of the bathroom, I closed the door slowly and quietly, not wanting to make much noise, when the horrible feeling returned full force. I remember turning around with the light of my torch facing the stairs when I saw a figure so black it was like a void. It was moving up the last steps and onto the hallway. I stood there frozen when my torch suddenly turned off. I panicked, pressing the on-off button repeatedly to no avail, while the figure moved closer. It looked like it was on all fours, and the outline was that of my departed dog, but at the same time it was constantly changing shape, almost like a blob of water trying to stay together. Even though I had no light, I could see the figure moving, like a shadow of darkness itself. The figure was reaching the gate, getting so close, while I was still frozen like a statue from fear. I was shaking, just staring at this thing, until it reached the gate and somehow started moving through the metal bars. At that point, I screamed and screamed. I was screaming so loud, I did not hear my mum get out of bed and open the door. She turned on the light and pulled me into her arms. I was just a crying, shaking mess. "Monty," I shouted as I pointed down the hall. "There's nothing there, Erin," she said, trying to soothe me. "There's nothing there." Confused, I pulled back slightly to look for myself, and she was right. The figure had gone. At that moment, my torch came back on, and the feeling of dread started to subside. Everything was silent and calm. To this day, I do not know what I saw, but something is telling me it was not my dog. I lived in the Appalachian Mountains my whole life, where the woods are thick, tangled, and full of mystery. Growing up there felt like stepping back in time. We had no cell phones or gadgets to distract us, just the endless expanse of forest as our playground and our imaginations as our guide. My best friend Madison and I would spend hours exploring the dense woods behind my house, following animal tracks, climbing trees, and discovering hidden creeks. In autumn, when the leaves turned fiery shades and fell, revealing clearer paths, we would push a little deeper each day. We would mark our bases in the most secret nooks we stumbled upon, pretending we were the first explorers to find them. But no matter how brave we felt, we always stayed close enough to see my house in the distance. Until one day, when the forest felt just a little more inviting, a little less ordinary, and curiosity got the better of us. We brought twine and other supplies that day, winding it around tree trunks so we would find our way back. We kept walking, deeper than we had ever gone before, until we reached a strange old tree that split in two, like a giant slingshot rising from the ground. Right next to it, half hidden in the hillside beneath a pile of leaves and branches, was a rusty handle. As we brushed away the leaves, we realized it was attached to a heavy wooden door, embedded in the earth as if it had always been there, waiting. Heart pounding, Madison and I both tugged on the handle, and the door finally broke open, revealing steps leading down into pitch blackness. Madison looked at me, unsure, but we felt compelled to go down. Maybe it was the mystery or the thrill of finding something forgotten, but we did not hesitate. The air was thick and damp as we descended. When we reached the bottom, we found ourselves in a cramped room. In the middle of the floor lay a single worn photograph. I held it up to our flashlight and froze. It showed two children, both girls, standing in front of a house that looked eerily like mine. The girls' eyes were so dark and their grins twisted, a little too wide. Madison and I looked at each other, panicked, and then bolted back up the steps, leaving the photo behind us. When we reached the top, we looked around. Our path of twine was gone, as if someone or something had unraveled it. We blindly ran back through the forest, finally reaching my house. We burst through the door, breathless and wide-eyed. My parents immediately noticed something was wrong. We tried to explain what we had found: the strange door in the hillside, the steps, and the photograph. My mum's face tightened with concern, but my dad, always the skeptic, shook his head and laughed. But when he saw we were serious, they agreed to come with us, though I could tell they thought it was just a child's overactive imagination. With my parents in tow, we spent what felt like hours retracing our steps through the woods, following what we remembered of the path. We finally spotted the twisted slingshot-shaped tree standing exactly where we had found it before. My heart leapt, but when we scoured the area around it, there was no sign of the door, no rusty handle, no disturbed leaves. Just bare earth and untouched forest floor. It was like the whole thing had never existed. My dad muttered something about kids and their stories, but as we walked back home, I caught a worried look in my mum's eyes. Madison and I exchanged a glance too, and in that moment we knew we had experienced something no one else would ever believe. Even now, 15 years later, Madison and I cannot shake the memory of that day. We have gone back to those woods more than once, trying to find any trace of that hidden door, but it is as if it never existed. We have no explanation for what we saw, no way to make sense of it. Every time I visit home and glance up at the woods, a chill creeps up my spine, and I almost expect to see the door waiting there, half buried and forgotten, just as we left it. And no matter how hard I try, I can still see that eerie photo in my mind. The eyes, the strange grin, like it is burned into my memory. And that, dear listeners, brings our journey through the shadows to an end, for now. If you felt a chill, if a shadow moved in the corner of your eye, don't worry, you're not alone. The abyss always watches. If you want more tales of terror and mystery, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell. Because here in the cursed abyss, darkness never sleeps, and neither should you.